John Katz. I'm an associate professor of psychology and a member of the Volin National Center for Complex Systems here at Brandeis. On behalf of the faculty and of the entire university, I'd like to welcome you to the Life Sciences MIDI Commencement Ceremony.
All right.
At this ceremony, we will be awarding degrees in the fields of biochemistry, biology, biophysics and structural biology, genetic counseling, oh yeah, molecular and cell biology, and of course neuroscience.
Of course.
For the graduating students, today's ceremony commemorates an important milestone in their lives. All have gotten to this point only through years of dedication and study. I know that everyone here joins me in offering our warmest congratulations to the 2011 graduates. But the successes of these students have not come without great help from others. I would now like to ask all of the graduates to stand and acknowledge the support of their friends, family, and especially parents and spouses who have provided support and in some cases made significant sacrifices on behalf of their loved ones' academic pursuits. Graduates, for some of your parents and spouses, today is as important a milestone for them as for you. Please stand up and recognize them.
All right. I don't know where you are, but thank you.
Okay, we will begin our formal festivities today with some welcoming remarks from Professor Chris Miller.
All right.
Dr. Miller is a professor of biochemistry at Brandeis and a Howard Hughes Medical Institute investigator, and word has it he's very amusing. So please give him your attention. Dr. Miller.
Let me see it. I've been here somewhere. Wait a minute. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Just kidding. Well, the purpose of these welcoming remarks, I think, is for one of the elderly faculty who've been around here a long time to give the graduates their wisdom from their long experience here, and to give them some advice to take with them through their lives after leaving Brandeis. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what they pay me to do here. I've been here 35 years, and I have a lot of wisdom to impart to all of you. But I'm only going to confine myself to 3 points. I want to make just 3 points, and these are actually things I feel strongly about. When you leave here, and as you go through the rest of your lives, keep in mind 3 things, and this especially applies to graduates in the biological sciences. First of all, embrace error and failure. Second, don't work too hard. And third, be very self-indulgent. Now, I'm sort of sensing a little bit of shuffling around in the back there where the parents are. I'm thinking maybe they're sort of thinking, wait a minute, I just threw $150,000 at this place and this is what I get? They're telling them all the things that I have told them not to do during their childhood years before getting to Brandeis. I admit that this isn't exactly the kind of advice that Amy Chua, for instance, the infamous tiger mother, would give you. But it's something I do feel actually has some real validity. And I'm going to very briefly expand on each of these. Now, of course, you know when a professor says he's going to briefly expand, you know what that can mean. It's droning on is it's an occupational hazard, let's say. Embrace failure, embrace error. I imagine that all of you have experienced in the times of your growing up, before you came to Brandeis, before you went to college, what I call the tyranny of parental demands for perfection. The whole educational system that you guys were exposed to in your young years and in your junior high and your high school years had a kind of fear of making mistakes. It was your job never to make a mistake. And this only got worse as you got closer and closer to the college application process and all that horror that you had to go through. Mistakes were to be avoided at any cost. Failure was a cardinal sin. And all I can say is I hope that we, the faculty here in the sciences, have done something of our jobs by trying to break you of that sense that you've gotten. I hope that we have given you adequate, maybe ample experience in failure, because you're going to need it. You're going to need that experience. You're going to need the experience of not doing things perfectly as you go through the rest of your lives, regardless of what you do. If you're going to stay in science, you're going to go to medical school, whatever, you're going to be in a biotech company, become a patent lawyer. Oh, God, I'm making some of those. But you will fail. You will make mistakes. You're going to have errors all around you all the time. And you can't be afraid of them. You have to realize that they are the way that you transcend them themselves, that you learn how to self-correct. And they are the essence of creativity. If you're going to be creative, you have to be able to make mistakes, because there's no way you can do something new and be creative without making mistakes all through that process of finding the thing that clicks. And if you're really afraid of error, if you're afraid of failure, if you're afraid of mistakes, you won't be able to be creative. So I hope we've given you some experience in that in your Brandeis time. The second thing, don't work too hard. I really mean that. Many of you are aiming at very high intensity professions. I won't mention what they are, but you know what I'm talking about. These professions that are in which training in the biological sciences is either a necessity or a near necessity, these professions are really demanding of your time. They also are ones in which you can get truly engaged with and passionate about. And so, you have two kinds of pressures, external and internal pressures, that make you want to spend a lot of time working on these high-intensity professions. And Noel Coward said, work is more fun than fun. But my advice is, don't let it get to you. Make sure that you can discipline yourself enough so that you can step back periodically, that you can take time to do other things. You are, after all, graduating not from a technical institute, but from a liberal arts college. And you have all had the experience here of dipping into, or in some cases, minoring in arts, humanities, literature, history, whatever. Things other than what are going to be maybe the major occupations of your life. And my advice here is, discipline yourself to keep those other parts of your life alive while you are being in the intense swirl of some sort of profession in the biological sciences. It will cleanse your brain periodically. And that's not just recreation. That helps you, in a very practical way, focus on the work that's your main work in your main professional life's work. And I should say, aside from just, doing music, humanities, or whatever, there's another thing that most of you are going to have in your lives, and that is raising a family. And not a lot that's much more important than that, because as you realize as biologists, our physical selves, our impulses, our emotions, everything are merely DNA's way of making more DNA. And finally, and I'm going to direct this mainly to those graduates who are planning to become research scientists themselves, to go into graduate school or maybe to medical school and then do research, but who are aiming at careers in biological research. Be self-indulgent. Don't be railroaded into working on problems just because other people say that those are important problems. Consult your own raw internal curiosity and go after those problems. And even if they're very obscure, and in some ways it's better if they're very obscure problems, don't be sidetracked by people telling you, oh, that's irrelevant, it's not relevant to human health, it's not translational enough. Because there are two advantages to that. If the problem that you truly are interested in and want to work on is obscure enough, you will probably be the one to make it generally interesting. And that's a good thing. That's a much better thing than working on a problem everyone already thinks is interesting and being one of the crowd. And the other reason is the commonplace of basic research that we all know about, which is that most of the practical benefits that have come from scientific research, and I'm not just talking about biological science, I'm not just talking about drugs and medicines, I'm talking about all kinds of things, refrigerators, cars, iPhones, whatever. These things have come tumbling out mostly from serendipitous discoveries that had nothing whatever to do with directed research towards them. For those of you who are going to be working in biological sciences, you're going to be facing over the next years an increasing push to be translational in your research. That means to tweak your research towards problems that have immediate or very soon clinical applications. I think this is a terribly pernicious thing that is happening to American biological science these days. It's not that I'm against translational research. I think it's great if that's what you want to do. But if you want to do something else, if you want to be studying some rather obscure system just because it rings your chimes, I think you should do that, because it is raw curiosity that really is the thing that makes the best things happen in science. So I think the guy always says he's about to stop, but of course he knows he has 73 more pages to go and wants to give the audience some hope. But really, I think I am going to depart from professorial tradition here. And when I have run out of things to say, I'm simply going to stop.
Thank you, Chris. You are indeed very wise. We will now begin by presenting the PhD diplomas. Will all the PhD candidates please rise and gather to the right of the stage?